It was my birthday rain tapping gently on the window, peppermint tea steeping, and then $89,000 gone from my bank account. No warning. Just 3 massive charges I didn't authorize. At first I thought it was fraud until I saw the billing address my parents' home. Turns out they'd used my name to open credit lines, buy a truck, and fund a lifestyle I was never invited to. And when I called them, they didn't deny it. They called it family. I'm Maddie, 34, financially independent for years until my trust was weaponized against me. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I reclaimed control with one click, the legal steps I took to protect myself, and how you can draw the line even if it's your own blood crossing it. I found forged documents, fake signatures, and a paper trail dating back to the first days of lockdown. If you've ever felt like the reliable one, the fix-it person in a broken family dynamic, this is for you. Watch till the end because learning to say no may just save your peace and your future. Before we dive into the story, I'd love to get to know you a little better. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. That way I can send you a special shout-out. Now let's begin our story together. I hadn't planned anything extravagant for my birthday, just a slice of lemon tart from Whole Foods and a quiet evening catching up on reruns. That was always enough for me. No balloons, no parties, no grand gestures, just peace. It was raining outside, a slow, steady drizzle, tapping the window pane, and the scent of peppermint tea lingered in the air like a promise I still believed in. I stood by the counter in my apartment in Bloomington, Minnesota, waiting for the kettle to finish its soft hiss. But before I even took my first sip, I opened my banking app. It was a habit more than anything, checking the numbers, making sure all was well. I wasn't expecting surprises, but there it was, $89,000, gone. At first I thought it was a glitch, a visual bug maybe. My brain couldn't process the drop in my account balance. It took a moment for my eyes to even believe the screen, but then I scrolled. There were 3 transactions, all from the day before a mortgage payment, to a property I didn't own, a car loan issued in my name, and what made me choke on my breath, a personal check written to someone I didn't recognize. I blinked, sat down slowly. My tea went cold without a sip. I opened the details, dug into every line like I was reading a story I didn't remember writing. It didn't make sense. No warning, no authorization, no phone call, no happy birthday, just emptiness in my account. As if someone had pressed delete on everything I'd built. A wave of something passed through me. Not anger, not yet, just stillness. The kind that comes after a crash when the dust hasn't settled and you're not even sure what's broken yet. I called my father. The line clicked once, twice. I heard music on the other end, something upbeat and far too loud for a Wednesday morning. He answered with a laugh in his voice. "Maddie, Dad." I said, my voice sharp despite my effort. "Did you take money from my account?" There was a pause, but not long enough to be guilt. The family needed help. You're the one who's always got her life together, remember? That's what you're good at. I didn't know what to say, not because I didn't have words, but because he made it sound reasonable, like it was a compliment. He continued, "It's just a few things, some bills. Rebecca had some stuff come up, and the house, we needed to make a payment. It's not like we're strangers." In the background, I heard her, my mother's voice, sweet, lilting, cutting. "What were you going to buy yourself a cake with all that money?" A laugh followed, like I was the joke. I swallowed hard. That money was mine. "You'll make it back," he replied simply. "You always do." I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I just stopped. He kept talking, but I let the words dissolve into static. Something shifted in me, something quiet but seismic, like a crack forming where the foundation used to be. I opened my laptop and pulled up my mortgage account, the only one I still personally managed. I hadn't missed a payment in 7 years. I hovered over the auto-pay option, clicked into it with steady fingers. "Wait," I heard myself say aloud, even though no one was listening. I disabled the auto-pay. Just like that, I took one thing back. The call was still going. I could hear the sounds of laughter plates clinking in the background, the life of a party I hadn't been invited to. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't need to. I hung up. The silence in my apartment felt like a weight lifted. Not heavy, just real. I stared at the screen, watching the confirmation message autopay successfully canceled. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't a power play. It was something simpler. Breath. For the first time that morning, I exhaled. I stood up slowly and went to pour out my now cold tea. The peppermint had faded into something bitter. On the edge of the counter sat a birthday card still sealed, a generic envelope with my name in my mother's handwriting. I didn't open it. Not yet. Something inside me felt suspended, like I was between two versions of myself. The one who made excuses and the one who finally stopped. I turned back to my laptop. My inbox was still open, flooded with the usual work emails and birthday offers from stores I hadn't visited in months. But at the top, something new had appeared. Subject Horizon Platinum Card. Statement ready. I stared at it. I don't have a Horizon Platinum card. My heart slowed. My fingers hovered over the mouse pad, uncertain. I clicked it open. But that's not part of this chapter. Not yet. The email wasn't a mistake. It had my name, my full name, my address, well, the one I grew up in, my social security number, the last 4 digits sitting there like a signature I never gave, and a balance, $24, $37.19. I stared at it. Horizon Platinum Card. My name at the top. Purchases I didn't recognize below it. A Gucci transaction. A PayPal withdrawal for $3,000, a monthly truck payment to a dealership I'd never stepped foot in. And yet it was all there, neatly categorized, organized as if I had spent the past 2 years shopping my identity away. The billing address matched my parents' house in Edina, not even hidden. I logged into the account using my old university email address and the last 4 digits of my SSN, and it opened like it was welcoming me home. No security flags, no alerts, just a friendly little banner that read, "Your statement is ready." I pulled my cardigan tighter and glanced out the window. Rain streaked down the glass like fingers. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I could still hear my father laughing from a memory I hadn't meant to hold on to. Just use Maddie's name, she always pays on time. He said it over mashed potatoes, one Thanksgiving. Rebecca had joked about buying a new couch, and Mom had said something about waiting for her credit score to recover. And Dad, casual as ever, lifted his glass and said it like it was nothing. I thought it was a joke. But now I could see the trail. My heart wasn't racing. It should have been, but it wasn't. I felt flat, still, like my body hadn't caught up with the betrayal yet. I clicked through statements going back 18 months. I saw department store charges, gas stations, in a town I hadn't visited, a dental bill, a few Amazon purchases. Then I saw the truck payment repeated monthly. The card had been paying for it the whole time. I recognized the dealership. It was in my parents' zip code. And suddenly I could see it, my father behind the wheel, nodding along to talk radio, never thinking to wonder what that ride cost someone else. I needed air. 15 minutes later, I was sitting in a corner booth at Copper Fox Cafe laptop, open a cup of black coffee growing cold in front of me. Folk music played overhead, something soft and wistful. The kind of music you don't really listen to, you just feel it settle over your shoulders like an old shawl. I stared at the Horizon portal and clicked, Download all statements. A zip file appeared. I named the folder History in all caps. Not out of drama, but precision. A text came in from Dana, my coworker. Dana. You okay? You been off lately? I didn't answer. What would I say? Hey, turns out I've been financially replaced by my own parents. But thanks for checking in. Instead, I opened one of the PDFs and scanned it. It was boilerplate language terms and conditions, monthly payment summaries, signatures. Then buried near the end something unfamiliar, a scanned document titled Limited Durable Power of Attorney, Madeline Carter. I clicked. It was grainy low-res, like it had been faxed and faxed again. But there it was, my name, my signature, except it wasn't mine. The handwriting was close, but not quite right. and the date, March 2020. Just a few days before Mom had called saying she had a minor health scare and needed help paying off some short-term bills. I remembered the call, how her voice trembled ever so slightly, how she'd said, "It's just temporary, honey, just to help us through." I had signed something, but it wasn't this. That document was a short loan agreement, 1 page. This was 7 pages. Legal sounding. Binding. A chill ran through me, not from the cold, but from the feeling that I'd missed something fundamental. This wasn't just a withdrawal. This wasn't a single card or a fluke. This was a system. Dear friend, what would you do if you were in my shoes? I bet you can't guess what's coming next. But before we go any further, drop a 5 in the comments if you're still with me, because what happens next might just leave you speechless. I called Horizon's customer service line, hands trembling, just enough that I hit the wrong number the first time. Eventually, a woman answered with a practiced smile in her voice. "How may I help you today?" I gave my information. Waited through holds. Explained the situation. She asked me to confirm a few transactions. I did. Then she asked the kicker, "Do you suspect the person who opened this account did so without your knowledge?" "Yes," I said. "And would you say that person is someone close to you?" I paused. Probably. A family member. There was no gasp on her end, no shock, just the rhythm of typing and a rehearsed sigh. Unfortunately, this happens more than people realize. I'll mark it as a potential case of identity theft and start the escalation. When the call ended, I didn't cry. I just began to collect screenshots, PDFs, bank statements, emails. I started pulling everything I could find into the history folder. Every file I added felt like another brick in a wall I didn't know I'd been building. Then I saw it. Tucked inside one of the folders from my mortgage lender was a document I'd never fully read, a title deed. I opened it. Owner of record Madeline Carter, just me. I whispered, "I don't even have a key." The rain tapped harder against the windows, and somewhere in the background the music shifted keys. I closed the mortgage file and opened a new spreadsheet. I named it Severance and began. I didn't plan to open Instagram, it just happened. The app was there on my home screen, nestled between my calendar and the weather app. I tapped it mostly out of habit, expecting nothing, maybe a baking video or a friend's dog in a sweater. But the first story that loaded was Rebecca's. The screen lit up, illuminating my dark apartment in a bluish hue. It was a video, champagne cork popping, gold streamers fluttering, balloons tied to the back of dining chairs, white and silver, with a single one that said, "You did it," in glittery cursive. And then the caption, "Family always shows up." I blinked, watched the loop start again, the pop, the laughter, the cheers. My mother's voice in the background calling out to Rebecca's new beginning, and then another voice, my father's. "Wouldn't have been possible without your drive, sweetheart. No mention of me, no acknowledgement of what had been taken." But the music playing in the background, it was the same music I'd heard faintly when I called him that morning. Not similar, the same exact playlist. I'd recognize that low hum of old Motown anywhere. So while I was sitting on my couch shaking from the $89,000 that had vanished, they were raising glasses and taking photos. Rebecca's next story was a series of stills, a luxury handbag in a gift box, a set of car keys, my mother's arm around her shoulder, and then the message that landed with the precision of a knife. To my incredible parents, thank you for believing in me when it mattered most. My hands didn't tremble, not this time. I just sat there, the phone warm against my fingers, as if it too was embarrassed by what it was showing me. I watched the video again and again. It played on a loop, and I let it remind me of how invisible I really was. I hadn't spoken to Rebecca in 3 months. She hadn't texted for my birthday. Neither had my parents. But there they were, toasting to her, celebrating with money they'd siphoned from my account like it was community property. I set the phone down and stood slowly, letting the soft creak of the floor under my feet remind me that I still existed, that I was still here. In the corner of my bedroom dresser was a drawer I rarely opened. Inside was a small white envelope slightly yellowed around the edges. I pulled it out gently and sat down on the edge of my bed. The card was plain. No glitter. Just a gold embossed border and simple black script, "Happy Birthday." Inside, in my own handwriting, neat, careful, I had written to myself, "You're still here." And that matters. I'd written that 5 years ago, on a birthday I'd spent completely alone after my last breakup and the layoffs at work. It was a strange habit I'd picked up since college, writing myself a birthday card once a year just in case no one else did. Some years I didn't need it. This year I did. I read the words out loud. "You're still here, and that matters." There weren't any tears, just silence. A silence that was thick but not empty. I looked around my apartment. The tea I'd poured that morning still sat on the counter, long gone cold. The smell of rain wafted in through the slightly cracked window. The only light came from my phone screen still glowing on the coffee table, with Rebecca's frozen smile on display. I walked over, picked it up, and opened the family group chat. The name of it hadn't changed in years, Carter Crew, a little red heart next to it. I opened it. The last message was from my mom 2 weeks ago, a photo of a bundt cake and the caption, "Sunday Sweetness." No one had responded. There were old messages too. Rebecca asking if I could pick her up from the airport. My dad sending links to articles about investing. Valerie always adding photos of family dinners I hadn't been invited to. I hovered over the menu. Leave chat. I clicked. There was no confirmation message. No "Are you sure" prompt. Just 1 second it existed, and the next it didn't. Then I opened the shared family calendar. Deleted every alert birthdays. Sunday calls, holiday dinners, one by one. It felt like pulling pins from a map I no longer lived on. I sat back down. The air in the room had changed lighter somehow, like a knot had loosened in my chest. The phone buzzed, a voicemail, Grandma June. I listened, holding the phone to my ear. "Hi, darling. I know you probably don't want to talk, and I'm not here to meddle, but I just wanted to say I love you. No one should ever make you feel like you don't matter. You've always mattered to me." Her voice cracked at the end, but she cleared her throat and added softly, "If you need to hear that again tomorrow, call me. I'll say it as many times as you need." I closed my eyes. The thing about silence is it can either feel like punishment or protection. That night, as I set my phone face down and finally poured the cold tea down the drain, I realized something. This silence. It didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, and formal in that way only bad news ever is. No return address, just my full name typed in all caps across the center with a barcode printed in the bottom corner. It didn't look like a birthday card or a coupon catalog. It looked like something designed to make your heart drop before you even slit the seal. I opened it with the edge of my thumb. The first page was titled, "Notice of Civil Action." The second had bold letters at the top, "Plaintiff Horizon Financial Services." My eyes scanned further down, and then I saw it, my name listed in bold, next to the words, "Defendant." The suit was for $22,000. Apparently, I had defaulted on a personal loan. I blinked once, then twice. My breath held itself in my throat. A personal loan I hadn't taken out alone in over 6 years. The letter listed a payment history, missed deadlines, interest accrued. I flipped to the last page and found the signature. It looked like mine, but it wasn't. It had my looping M, the steady backbone of the D, but the tail of the signature curled too round at the end, like someone trying too hard to mimic me, to be careful, and failing. I sat down at the kitchen table. Outside the window, patches of snow still clung to the corners of the sidewalk, but the center had melted into slush. The light outside was dull, the kind that makes you squint without knowing why. On my laptop screen, my budgeting spreadsheet was still open from the night before. I hadn't gotten far, just color-coded tabs and empty cells waiting for numbers I no longer trusted. I picked up my phone and dialed the customer service line listed in the documents. I keyed in my social security number, waited through a robotic voice. Press 2 for existing claims, 1 for account verification. Finally, a human voice answered, "Male." Friendly enough. "Yes, I'm calling because I received a lawsuit notice about a defaulted loan," I said. "But I never took this loan." He asked for the loan number. I gave it. "Okay, I see the account," he said, typing. "It was opened April 2020. Online application, personal line of credit." My stomach dropped. That date again. Early lockdown. The stretch of time that felt like one long afternoon of chaos. My parents calling constantly, fear in every headline. I had been so tired then, worn thin, and the address I asked. Registered to 218 Haven Lane, he said. That was their house, not mine. "Do you see an IP address tied to the application?" He hesitated. "That's internal data, ma'am, but I can tell you it matches other accounts opened from that household." I exhaled slowly. "So someone in the household?" He didn't answer directly. "It does happen sometimes, especially during COVID. People used each other's information. Families were under pressure." My mind flashed back. April 2020. The call from my father. "Just sign it, Maddie. You don't need to read this. Helps keep the house running." His voice had been weary. I'd been trying to work through back-to-back Zoom calls. I barely heard the rest. I hadn't remembered signing anything specific. But maybe I had agreed to something. Had I given a verbal yes? Had they filled in the rest? "Would you like to dispute it formally?" the agent asked. I stared out the window for a moment. Across the street, a kid in a yellow jacket was dragging a scooter through the leftover snow, leaving uneven lines behind him. "Yes," I said calmly. "Please file it as fraud." He noted it in the system. I took down the case number, thanked him. I hung up and opened my laptop again. This time, I didn't look at the budgeting sheet. I opened a different folder, one I had created a few days ago and named with a single word, severance. Inside were screenshots, call logs, PDFs, bank statements, credit reports, and copies of emails. I added the lawsuit paperwork to a new subfolder titled Legal. Then I opened a blank Word document and started typing a chronology. Date, account, incident, evidence. The work didn't feel dramatic. It felt clean, necessary, like vacuuming the corners of a room you hadn't touched in years. Around midday, I paused for lunch but didn't eat, just sat with a glass of water in my hand, staring at the snow runoff dripping off the edge of the balcony upstairs. It landed in the same spot every few seconds, plip, plip, plip. Then I opened a new email draft to laura.akessler, alawgroup.com. Subject: full financial disassociation from my family. I wrote a short paragraph, explained the unauthorized accounts, attached documents, requested a consultation. Before sending, I reread the subject line 3 times. Disassociation, not confrontation, not blame, just space. Legal firm, defined space. Then I clicked send. A beat of silence. No confetti, no pop-ups, just my inbox returning to stillness. That's when my phone pinged. A voicemail. No number, just Mom. I stared at it for a moment before pressing play. Her voice was soft, calmer than I expected. "Hi, sweetheart. I know things look a certain way right now, and I know you're upset. But this is still Family Maddie. You're still one of us." She paused, let out a gentle sigh. "And we do what we have to for family. I hope you'll remember that." The message ended. I didn't replay it. Instead, I opened a fresh page in my severance folder and titled it Voicemails. Then I saved the audio file and closed the laptop. Candlelight has a way of making even an empty room feel occupied. I had one burning on the coffee table, the flame tiny and steady, giving off a faint vanilla scent that didn't quite mask the smell of old rain drifting in through the cracked window. The apartment was warm, but my shoulders carried a chill I couldn't shrug off. On the desk beside the couch lay 2 things that defined the last decade of my life: a folder labeled History and a worn blue checkbook with my initials embossed on the front. My phone buzzed. One new voicemail from Mom. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. A single tap and her voice slipped into the room as if she had found a way to stand right beside me. "Hi, sweetheart. I hate to bother you, but Dad's in the hospital. He slipped in the garage, broke his leg. They can't schedule surgery unless someone pays the deposit. It's $2,000 up front. I know things have been tense, but family takes care of family. Call me." No apology. Just a statement of need wrapped in a soft, almost musical tone. My mother had always believed sweetness diluted blame. I sat for a minute, letting the silence reclaim the space. Then I reached for the checkbook. It opened naturally like muscle memory. I started to fill in the date. My pen hovered over the amount line. 2,000. It was a number I could cover without blinking. Covering was what I did. Grandma June's words rose in my mind clear as the click of her knitting needles. They won't stop until you make it cost them to lie. She had said it during our last phone call, her voice steady, patient, as though she had waited decades for me to understand. I looked at the candle. The flame didn't flicker. It just held its ground. I set down the pen, pulled the folder labeled History closer. The manila edges were frayed from constant use. Inside were printed screenshots, bank statements, copies of forged signatures, and the lawsuit notice I'd received yesterday morning. Page after page of requests, withdrawals, and quiet disappearances. I thumbed through them in order. Mom's cheerful texts asking for a quick loan to cover utilities until next week. Dad's emails with scanned temporary forms he swore I didn't need to read. The Horizon card statement listing a payment for a silver pickup truck, followed by charges for spa weekends and online clothing hauls. My heart didn't race anymore when I saw the evidence. It beat steadily, almost calmly. Clarity. I realized changes the rhythm of fear. A buzz. Dana, my coworker again. "Notice you left early." All good. I let the message sit unread. Another vibration. This one, Ava. "Heard about the hospital. You okay?" I took a breath, closed the folder, and snapped the elastic around it. The checkbook still lay open, check half written. I slid it into the drawer without tearing a page and shut the drawer with the softest click I could manage. Walking to the kitchen, I brewed a mug of mint tea but didn't sweeten it. The bitterness felt appropriate. I carried the mug to my desk, opened my laptop, and logged into the separate savings account I had opened after the fraud report went through. I nicknamed it Peace Fund. It sounded small town and sturdy, like something you could lean on without fear of splinters. I transferred $2,000 from my primary account into the Peace Fund, typed a short note in the memo line, "For a future that fits." Then I texted Ava, "Tell them I hope he heals, but I won't pay for what broke me." I set the phone down face down this time. Let the silence stretch. No guilt rose up to choke me. No second thoughts nipped at my resolve, only a curious stillness as if a door to an overheated room had finally been opened and I could breathe. Moments later, the phone vibrated again. My thumb twitched, but I let it go. Whatever new plea or rebuke waited could wait a little longer. I wasn't obligated to be on call for regret. I closed my eyes and listened to the candle's soft hiss. Somewhere outside, a car splashed through a puddle. Someone's porch door slammed. Life continued, utterly unaware that an entire family contract had just cracked in half. My thoughts drifted to Dad in the hospital. The image didn't come with spite. I pictured him reclining in a stiff bed television tuned to a baseball rerun, cracking a joke to the nurse about hospital coffee. I wished him well. Truly. I just didn't wish it at my expense anymore. Another memory surfaced unbidden me at 10. Scraping together coins to buy a Father's Day card because I thought gifts mattered more than words. He'd read it, smiled, and placed it on the mantel. I remember the pride that bloomed in me, how useful it felt to give. Utility had been my love language for so long I forgot how to speak any other. Now at 34, I was finally trying out a new dialect one, where no meant I trusted myself more than promises that bent under pressure. I looked at the candle. The flame dipped low, as if nodding approval, then sprang tall again. Eventually, I gathered the courage to play Grandma June's latest voicemail. Her voice carried the comfort of quilted blankets and cinnamon rolls cooling on a rack. Hi, honey. I heard they called you. Just remember, love isn't a receipt. If they think it is, hand it back unopened. I'm proud of you. I saved her message to the folder titled Voicemails, then backed it up to the cloud. Some words are worth keeping safe. The night deepened. I washed the teacup, blew out the candle, and let darkness settle around me like a well-tailored coat. When dawn seeped in, pale and cold, I felt rested in a way I hadn't since childhood. I brewed fresh coffee, opened the blinds a finger's width, and watched steam rise from the mug. My email pinged. Subject line, HOA update officer changes. I clicked. Please welcome Mrs. Valerie Carter's voluntary resignation from the board effective immediately. I didn't smile, but a calm warmth spread behind my ribs. The consequence wasn't mine to deliver yet. Here it was arriving all the same. I closed the message, took a slow sip of coffee, and let the morning light widen across the room. For the first time in years, a quiet boundary stood between me and the noise. And it felt like home. I arrived early, not because I wanted to be noticed, but because I needed a minute alone before the eyes turned. The venue shimmered with soft candlelight beneath its glass roof, an echo of autumn twilight soaking the sky above Minneapolis. I wore a black satin dress, simple and sharp, and pulled my hair back into a low knot. Valerie always said I looked cold that way, unapproachable. That was the point. The place smelled faintly of lilacs and wood polish. I found my name card at table 9 on the outer edge of the hall near the exit. I didn't flinch. I just sat, hands folded, taking in the acoustic playlist, humming in the background. Indie covers of love songs. Prosecco glasses clicked gently at nearby tables. I wasn't seated with family. Of course I wasn't. When Valerie entered wearing mauve silk and a smile stitched too tight, her eyes swept the room. They landed on me and froze. Thomas followed 2 steps behind, older, slower. He glanced my way for a moment, then quickly found something more interesting on the floor. Rebecca breezed in next in gold and blush, beaming like a headline. I watched as she air-kissed her way through distant cousins and ex-teachers pausing for posed photos by the cake. At the edge of the dance floor, a screen flickered on the slideshow. It started with Ava's childhood mud pies, ballet recitals, braces. Then came the college years, internships, new apartment keys. I smiled when I saw the deck layout on the slide, the one I'd designed for her presentation 2 years ago. No credit, just a cheerful caption. Couldn't have done it without the family. My fork didn't move. My breath did. Then I felt her. Valerie standing beside me, her hand hovering over the back of my chair. You look different, she said. Soft. Calculated. I am, I replied. She waited. I didn't. I turned my face to her, meeting her gaze not with anger, but with something heavier, something calmer. I'm here for Ava, I said evenly, not for you. She blinked, twice. Then smiled in that small, pitying way she used to when I brought home B+ grades. Well, she started but didn't finish. I turned away. The ceremony was beautiful. Ava cried happy tears when her vows mentioned second chances, chosen family, and grace that didn't need to be earned. Rebecca clapped loudest. Thomas wiped his eyes like he'd contributed something. I stayed quiet. Later, while Ava was changing out of her heels behind the bridal suite, I wandered to her gift table to leave my card. That's when I saw it on a shelf by the guest book. A framed photo from Grandma June's last Thanksgiving. Everyone smiling. My hair was different then, long and loose. But in this print, I was missing. Cropped, clean out. I stared at it for a long time. My fingers didn't tremble. My throat didn't tighten. They'd finally done what they always hinted at. Erased me gently with good lighting. And I was okay. That night, back in my apartment, I didn't unpack right away. I lit a single candle on the kitchen counter and stood by the window, arms folded. No birthday wishes, no emails, no noise, just breath, just peace. That night, I didn't blow out candles or make a wish. I just let myself breathe quietly, fully. Sometimes the greatest peace comes not from being seen, but from choosing where you stand. In this life, love doesn't mean losing yourself to keep the peace. Real family, chosen, or blood shows up in truth, not in silence. And the moment we stop apologizing for protecting our peace, that's when healing begins. If this story stirred something in you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever stepped away to find yourself again?